Good evening, boxing fans. This is a TV Party Tonight extra boxing commentary for the linear heavyweight championship of the world. Tyson Fury versus Tom Schwartz. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And we are a two-man booth tonight. The Howard Lederman of our spiritual Howard Lederman of our boxing telecast, ladies and gentlemen, the host of Damn You Hollywood and the 411 Ground and Pound radio show, Mr. Robert Winfree. How do you do, sir?
That wounds me, Mark. Just so you know, I have to say, comparing me to Lederman does leave a giant, a giant wound. My heart.
But you do it so well. Well, Mark. You know, it's good stuff.
Well, Mark.
All right. So, sing me a song, Piano Man. This is Tyson Fury versus Tom Schwartz on ESPN Plus, brought to you by Top Rank Boxing. We just saw Barrera versus Hart, which was some of the most amateurish boxing ever seen on a pro boxing stage. Oh my God, I'm pretty sure at my weight and at my ability, I could have done better. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you couldn't make... I don't say this unkindly. I couldn't make the weight limit either at the moment.
Well, no, I'm not saying... I'm suggesting at my current weight. The skill level
you
would
step
be
into
fine.
You step away from the podcast into a boxing ring, and your technical acumen is superior to those two gentlemen that just fought.
At least Barrera. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they both sucked.
I mean, Hart wasn't much better, but at least Hart wasn't, like, constantly turning his back.
Yeah, that's a thing. That should not happen.
Not when you're the co-main event on a professional boxing
I mean, even
telecast.
pivoting to the back is kind of a no-no.
Mm-hmm. Hart had suggested that he messed up his hand in the 7th round, or he would have ended it sooner than having it go to decision. I mean,
he's
maybe.
full of crap.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have liked to have called it Roadhouse, but even Roadhouse is more entertaining and prettier than what we saw. That was like Tough Man.
Yeah, that was a more accurate description. So at the moment, we're dealing with the pre-fight hype pieces surrounding the main event here.
Well, I thought I saw Tyson Fury actually walking out, so I thought, that gives us enough time to do our own pre-wrap here. The commentators on ESPN Plus have been going on and on about how Tyson Fury is, because he's the lineal heavyweight champion, that he's the real heavyweight champion, that he's the best in the world right now. Anthony Joshua, as we talked about in our last boxing podcast, had gotten beaten by Mexican Rocky. And then there's Deontay.
Rocky was in better shape, and Rocky won than Ruiz Jr. was for that fight. Okay,
fair enough. And then you have Deontay Wilder, and then after that, I think we're out of heavyweights. I don't know. Does the European heavyweight champion still exist? Because that was a thing once.
I assume it still exists in some capacity. I mean, I think Joshua still has at least one or two belts. I don't believe all of them were on the line for his fight with Ruiz Jr. Wilder has a few.
But whatever happened to Mandy Patinkin, who had the European belt for a spell?
I don't know. Hang on.
No, you're just going to no-sell that I messed up his name, right?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. Meanwhile, what we're seeing right now on TV is some shots of the previous weigh-in, and now we have a commercial for some Samsung products. Hot damn.
Okay, no, that's Amateur European Boxing Union, maybe?
Why don't you just look up list of heavyweight champions?
No, that's not actually helpful. It's so much longer.
List of current boxing champions?
Oh, there's so many that are vacant. Oh, that hurts.
I know that when Potemkin's fight was on Epix, they invented a belt for him.
All right, let me see what we have here. We have that one's vacant. Andy Ruiz Jr. has a couple. Wilder has one. The WBA one has like 3 champions now at the moment. One of them's interim, one of them's regular, one of them's super.
Who's the interim?
Trevor Bryan. The regular champion is Manuel Char, and Ruiz Jr. won the super title when he defeated Joshua.
Well, don't you think that between Top Rank and Golden Boy and PBC, we need to start unifying some of these heavyweight championships before we go around ascribing Tyson Fury as best in the world right now?
I mean, he probably is.
So let's talk about that. If you ever actually...
I mean, okay, let me be clear when I say he probably is the best heavyweight in the world. Yeah, he doesn't have a belt right now. Okay, fair play. He is currently not a champion.
Who are we talking about?
Fury.
Okay. He doesn't?
No. He vacated, I believe, all of his titles when he had his issues.
Okay.
He was then fighting to reclaim at least one of them from Wilder, or Wilder's was up for grabs. I forget how all of them interact and come together across different fights.
And that, of course, went to a draw.
He got screwed.
Yeah.
There's no way. You and Pat did live commentary for that, did a fight companion for that as well, I believe.
We did.
There's no way that should have been a draw. Absolutely no way.
No, of course not. But it was. It was designated a draw. That's what's going down in the book says. So anyway, all right. So he currently doesn't have a belt.
At the moment, that is true. But again,
wow.
if we look, he had a breakdown, went on binges galore.
I get all that, but like ESPN, I can't just how fraudulent ESPN's being with this. Like he's the linear heavyweight champion. Well, no, he isn't.
He is.
How do you figure if he doesn't have a belt?
He never lost.
Okay.
If we're talking, for the record, if we're talking about lineal heavyweight championships, which I don't subscribe to as really being a thing necessarily, but it is it is tracing back again who beat the guy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but when Hulk Hogan lost the belt to Andre the Giant, and then Andre the Giant gave away the belt to Ted DiBiase, the belt was vacated. They didn't continue to say that Andre the Giant was the linear heavyweight champion. There was no champion. Granted,
again,
that's also pro wrestling.
Stop. Pro wrestling is fake.
People listening to this podcast going, that's it. But
okay, so look, let me be clear. What we're talking about when we say he's the lineal heavyweight champion, he beat Vladimir Klitschko. Right. He was the first guy to do that. Klitschko was the guy who unified all the previous titles, beating the guy who previously did that.
I get it. He was the super champion, and I know all that. What I'm saying is you don't get to call yourself champion if you vacate the belt because you're on a cocaine binge. Okay,
but there's also no belt. There is no lineal belt. The lineal championship is apocryphal. Mm-hmm. It's not really a thing in the sense that it carries no extra monetary compensation. It's an acknowledgement that you are the individual that can trace their title lineage back to the source.
Okay.
That's what he is. And you can only lose that if you are actually beaten in a fight.
So the two people that have all of his belts that he once had are Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So clearly we have to. So clearly we need Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz Jr. As I've already said in Texas, and the winner of that fight needs to fight Tyson Fury. Let's get this done.
Again, lineal championships it's more a gimmick than anything else.
You're certainly right. It's a gimmick because you basically just said he doesn't actually have any championships.
He doesn't. He is not he is not currently a champion
because he could. But so. He's the lineal champion, but he's not a champion. You hear the words coming out of your mouth. Look, tell me about Tom Schwartz.
He's an undefeated 20-something German who's in way over his head.
So was this just sort of a a gimme fight, to grab some attention for ESPN Plus, grab some attention for Tyson Fury, get him freshened up for either a rematch with Deontay Wilder or possibly now a match with Andrew Ruiz Jr. Is that what we're doing here?
More or less.
Fantastic.
I mean, the same way that come on, look, Deontay Wilder fought Bobo Brazil in his last fight. They had Anthony Joshua fight Andrew Ruiz Jr. They're having Tyson Fury fight this guy Tom Schwartz, whose opponent's career record, career average, like the record of his combined opponents is 279, 184, and 13, which is not the worst in the world, but still kind of meh. I mean, he is very clearly the underdog. He is very clearly, again, I don't want to say he's being brought in to lose, because he's here to fight.
But he's not likely to win.
He is unlikely to win. That is very true. It seems like the last couple of fights from all of those top three heavyweights, and those are by skill, the three best heavyweights in the world. Well, by skill and punching power, because Deontay Wilder is not a skilled fighter. Joshua, Fury, and Wilder are the big three. And they've been kind of in orbit for a while, but never have been able to. It took forever for them to get anything kind of made. I mean, it took Wilder deciding that Fury, just coming off of a 4-year hiatus and then having like 2 tune-ups was an okay fight to sign. He's just not. None of them were really, for whatever reason, willing to kind of sign on the dotted line, whether it was negotiation issues or timing issues or what have you. So their current scheme seemed to have been, let's get everyone a fight, let's get some hype back up after Fury and Wilder went to a stupid draw, and then Joshua went and crapped the bed and threw a hitch into everything. But this is not a gimme in the sense, this is not a tune-up fight for Tyson Fury, but this is a fight he should, by all reasonable expectations, win.
So let's get some gritty analysis going. What does Tom Schwartz have to do to pull up an upset?
I haven't seen enough of his fights to get too detailed into this, so rather than talk about what he needs to do in terms of how his game might adapt, there's a few things. I mean, no one's beaten Tyson Fury, for starters. That includes the biggest power puncher in the sport right now in Deontay Wilder, and the best, or certainly one of the best technicians in Vladimir Klitschko. I'm not sure what Schwartz's path to victory is outside of, and I hate to say lucky because I don't really believe in purely lucky punches.
Well, it would seem like he would need to crowd Tyson Fury. I mean, I watched, Pat mentioned this a bunch of times during the Deontay Wilder fight, that Tyson Fury has this unpredictable herky-jerky style, and he does a lot of feigning, he does a lot of bobbing and weaving, and I feel like as a game plan, if you can crowd him, if you can take that away from him, and maybe do a lot of clinching, let him wear you for a while, tire him out as you get into the later rounds, he'll start letting his hands slip, and he'll be less mobile, less herky-jerky, and will provide a hittable target.
I mean, that's a decent theory. I think there's two problems. There's two kind of fundamental problems with it when it comes to implementation against Tyson Fury. One is just his defensive savvy. Tyson Fury is a very defensively savvy fighter. If the fundamental premise of winning in combat sports, especially striking-based combat sports, hit and do not get hit, Tyson Fury excels at that. He excels at hitting and landing on you, and then you not hitting him. So it's a difficult thing to do. His footwork is also, again, Pat mentioned again prior, a lot of his timing, and a lot of his movement. His footwork is very solid, and he actually, for a big guy, he fights well in close quarters. If you get in on him, he's good about maneuvering himself in tight proximity. And he's good about landing on the break. He's good about digging to the body, especially in close. Crowding him is a good option simply because fighting at distance with him is so terrible. But even in close, it's not like this is some glaring weakness in his game. And as for his cardio, he's got good cardio. I don't remember seeing his legs go out from under him a lot in terms of just being worn out.
But I think here's my problem. What was it, a 4-year hiatus after putting on a lot of weight and getting addicted to cocaine, correct me if I'm wrong.
Among other things.
These things weigh on the body. And yes, he's in better shape now, but the longitudinal toll that substance abuse, I think, takes on a person, I don't know. It makes me, and I have nothing else to back this up, but theory and experience in a very general sense with people who abuse substances, that his cardio in the later rounds might be suspect.
I mean, his cardio was fine against Wilder, and that went all 12.
Yeah, but also Deontay Wilder fought stupid.
Sure. I mean, again, we're not talking about, he was not necessarily pushed outside of a pace he was comfortable maintaining.
Right.
But he also did maintain. I mean, even after he got dropped badly in the 12th, he got back up and got back to work.
Right. But again, Deontay Wilder both fought from the outside and didn't use his distance. I don't know how he managed it, but he did. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I'm somehow going to fight on the outside. I'm going to continue to fight on the outside, but not use my reach at all. It was amazing.
Deontay Wilder, while he has absolutely ferocious power, has about 3 punches in his arsenal, and he tends to use them in the same combinations repeatedly. And Fury just had a really good beat on that from tape study, if nothing else. I mean, I think Wilder landed maybe 10 clean punches that entire fight.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, and that's why I go back to my initial proposal for for Tom Schwartz to, at the very least, win a decision here. Well, no. If this goes all 12 rounds,
I don't think he can. I don't think he can beat Fury via decision. I don't think he's good enough.
Well, I was going to say if he takes it to 12 rounds, the winner's going to be Canelo. But that's
true. Someone will just mail him another win bonus to his compound in Mexico
while he's riding a horse on the beach.
Which he'll then roll the check up and snort coke off a stripper's torso or something. I don't know what he does with it.
You're listening to the Radulich Broadcasting Network, the home of the running gag.
Multiple running gags. We're a marathon here, baby. You ever see the Boston Marathon? Thousands of them.
But yeah, Deontay Wilder didn't really press Tyson Fury. He didn't get on the inside.
Certainly not consistently. I mean, he did in moments, but not consistent.
But not enough to where we could really test Tyson Fury's cardio, because as you said, he was able to fight at a pace he was comfortable with. Now, if this guy Schwartz gets in there, and like I said, uses the clinch, fights in the clinch, makes Tyson Fury hold him up. As I'm not saying right away he's just going to gas and fall over, but we get to round 6, 7, 8. I think you're going to see that start to wear on Tyson, and you're going to see age and abuse catch up with the guy middle of the ring. We might see an upset here.
I think that's Schwartz's biggest hope. Again, outside of a lucky punch, and I hate to say lucky because I don't believe in lucky punches. If you're throwing something, it's intentional, and you should be credited as such. But lucky in this instance, referencing a lower percentage opportunity materializing. He's got to hope that Fury is out of shape. He's got to hope that Fury's not really conditioned for all 12 rounds. And I mean, I think he is. Fury looks in pretty good shape. He's looked in good shape at the weigh-ins and the build-up to this fight and whatnot. I'm certainly not saying that, again, abuse like that doesn't take a physical toll, but I'm not sure that. Let me put it like this: the degree to which your game plan should revolve around your opponent screwing up should be as little as possible.
Okay. I mean, I agree with that. You said you haven't seen enough of Tom Schwartz's stuff, so you wouldn't really know, what he's best at.
Based on some of the stuff I've seen in promotional materials and whatnot, it's kind of your generic heavyweight, lunging left hooks, pressing the lunging punches to get in close, and then flurrying when you've got them rocked. I could be wrong. I need to see if I can.
In the meantime, they assuming Tyson Fury does what the intent here is to do, which is win. They are talking about him versus Deontay Wilder in early 2020. I mean, we're only in June here. I don't know why Tyson Fury wouldn't try to take one more fight before the end of the year. I don't know why Deontay Wilder wouldn't want to take one more fight before the end of the year, but such is life. Did you happen to catch the result of the fight on Fox, the Charlo fight?
I might have seen it, but I don't think I had I don't think I remember anything specific about it.
Okay. We are currently in a commercial.
Yay! Commercials on your premium streaming service.
Boy. So here's what's coming up as far as some big-time boxing fights. We've got...
Wow, he has a DQ win. Schwarz.
Oh, boy.
One of his wins is by DQ.
This Friday night on DAZN, we've got Andrew Canciel versus Alberto Machado. Over on ESPN Plus, we've got Tyrone McKenna versus Dara
I
Foley.
believe he is technically the WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion.
Who?
Schwarz.
Okay, terrific.
For whatever value you want to ascribe that particular title.
Yay for belts.
That would be the boxing motto.
Over on Showtime, we've got Sebastian Fundora versus Hector Manuel Zepeda. And also on DAZN from Merry Old England, we've got Husi Kovila versus Connor Benn. Saturday night, it's all right for fighting, as they say in Rocket Man. We've got on CBS Sports at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we've got Froylan Saludar versus Dwayne Beeman. We've got Kieran Smith versus Michael McGurk on ESPN Plus. Sergio Garcia versus Sierge Rabchenka, which is not being televised in the U.S. And then on Sunday, June 23rd, is Jermell Charlo versus Jorge Cota, which I thought was tonight. Maybe it was a different Charlo.
It's not an uncommon last name. I wouldn't be surprised if you were confused.
I think you know what? I think it's like on my calendar twice is the issue. Moving on. We go over to Friday, June 28th. We've got Ryan Walsh versus Lewis Paulin on ESPN Plus, once again from Merry Old England. Raimundo Beltran versus Richard Comey on ESPN. From Temecula, California. Demetrius Andrade versus Masai Shulecki on DAZN. Francesco Patera versus Paul Hyland Jr., also on DAZN, coming at you from Lombardia, Italy. So we haven't had enough Charlos. Jamal Charlo versus Brandon Adams on Showtime.
Wait, what's that? Aren't there twins? Aren't there the Charlo twins?
This is Jermel, and then there's Jermal.
Yeah, there's the two of them that have almost identical names, and I want to strike their parents for naming their children. Really?
Saturday, July 6th is Lawrence Okoli versus Jack Massey on DAZN. Let's see here. Ryota Murata versus Rob Brandt, coming at you from Osaka, Japan on ESPN. Friday, July 12th, James Dickens versus Nathaniel May, ESPN Plus. Jermaine Franklin versus Jerry Forrest on Showtime. Amir Khan, what do you think about that?
Very little.
That's good because it's not televised in the United States. But Amir Khan versus Niraj Goyat from Saudi Arabia.
Look, Amir Khan had a peak at some point, I'm sure. At this point, he's just kind of exists in some loose sense. Like, his ceiling has been made clear.
Yeah. Let's see here. Manny Pacquiao. Excuse me. Keith Thurman.
The yawn is appropriate when talking about Pacquiao these days.
He's fighting Keith Thurman on Fox pay-per-view, which I don't think anyone's going to buy.
Probably. Well, no, hang on, it's Pacquiao. People will buy it.
Really? Is Pacquiao still a thing?
In the Philippines, he is.
Don't know about that. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that particular assessment. I just don't know if outside of the Philippines.
Don't get me wrong. Like, this is not going to do great numbers, but Pacquiao's one of the few guys you could probably still put on pay-per-view these days and not fall flat on your face. Will not be guaranteed to fall flat on your face.
So no UFC tonight.
There's 5 Saturdays in the month of June. There are 4 events, but there is 1 Saturday off.
Yeah, what'd you do with your day off?
Very little.
Okay.
Look, I also got kind of roped into covering Impact last night, so...
Oh, you poor bastard. So you know what's also on June 29th? My friend who had a couple of losing outings when she was in Invicta has a female flyweight boxing match for CES Boxing on the card of Dawson versus Rankin, which is going to be on Facebook Live.
Wow, Facebook Live trying to be a thing.
Yeah. It's being streamed on Facebook. That's the same night as Ngannou versus Dos Santos. So I can't rope you into covering that.
I wouldn't do it anyway.
Oh, we have to at least cover my friend's fight.
Here's kind of the thing about the lineal title. You see the names of the people that Fury is walking by here, starting with Larry Holmes when he beat Ali, leads us to, and I think Tyson was the one who kind of reunified everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking by a lot of previous lineal champions, guys who were the first ones to beat the previous. Because you have guys that get stripped of belts for non-title defenses. You have injury-related layoffs. That's one of the reasons the lineal title holds a degree of value amongst punditry or fans.
You don't get to say you're the champion when you don't actually have the championships. You gave them away.
Look, this is the one title that it has been established by whatever rule you want to say establish these things. You can only lose in the ring. If you retire with it, you retire with it, and someone else has to achieve what you achieved. So
Tyson Fury from England, currently draped in the red, white, blue of American.
He's doing the Apollo Creed entrance.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Tyson Fury is such a goofball. I love him.
He's an entertaining guy. I mean, he's got a great name.
The Vegas Showgirls.
He's a fun guy.
This is full on Rocky IV.
Like, I get it. I get why they would want to push this guy and protect him a bit and try to make him a name. Oh, look at that! Did the Big John Studd, the Andre the Giant? He stepped over the top rope.
Well, the dude's also big. If you're big enough to pull that off, go for it.
Sure, it's an impressive thing.
I mean, he's 6'9". Like, it might genuinely be easier for him to step over the top instead of between the ropes with his proportions.
So, flipping our analysis here, what's the likelihood of Tyson Fury knocking this guy out, making a short night of this?
Even if he gets a finish, I think it's unlikely to be quick.
Mm-hmm.
Fury I mean, look, again, he's 6'9", he's 200 and I forget 60 some odd pounds. He's a big guy. So when I say the following thing, that does not mean getting punched in the face by Tyson Fury is pleasant, but he's not a big knockout threat. Okay. A lot of his stoppages are corner stoppages, are accumulation of blows. Sure. He's got a couple, again, body work, or just the other thing he kind of does if he gets stoppages, he hits you with punches you don't see, and you don't need to have devastating punching power to badly hurt someone if they don't see the punch coming. And Fury's pretty good at that. So he might come out here and really try to make a statement, but I expect the standard Fury fare, where he moves around a lot because he fights well going backwards as well as going forwards. He fights well out of both stances. And he's an awkward guy to try and get a handle on. It's one of the reasons no one has.
Okay. We are just about ready to get underway here. So if you're wondering if you saw this on the list of podcasts from the Radulich and Broadcasting Network and said, oh boy, we get to hear Pat drunkenly go off on the sport of boxing again. Pat was invited onto the podcast. He is still part of the boxing commentary team, but Pat was busy tonight, so
he declined for reasons that are, well, relatively obvious.
Yeah, well, he didn't want to do it. But, he sometimes does things he doesn't want to do because he just...
Oh, boy. You can see Schwartz's belly button. Insert Scott Steiner, he's fat.
Oh, Jesus, here we go again with this.
It's a thing. Like
didn't we talk about this with the Ruiz fight?
It got brought up briefly, yeah. It got brought up briefly.
Pick your damn shorts up.
Well, it's actually how they fit. Because the top of the shorts don't actually rest on your hips, there's a bit of padding that you're allowed to wear that kind of is meant to protect your hips from being punched a lot. Well, it protects both your hips from taking undue abuse. And if you've never been hit a lot, kind of in the hip joint or in that hollow around on the front of the hip, that really sucks. It also protects your opponent's hands a little bit because if you land on the hip wrong with a punch, you can bust your hand pretty easily. Sure. That's a fairly resilient bone, especially amongst the young. Yeah, I mean, old people break them all the time, but when you're young and not dealing with the health issues of age, that's a sturdy bit of calcium there.
So as I was saying, Pat couldn't join us tonight because he had some personal stuff. Like I said, normally, no matter how much he fights me and not wanting to do this and just being frustrated with the sport of boxing, he'll usually join us just because he enjoys hanging out with Robert and I via podcast. But I think tonight he had a date, so he is. I thought I actually saw him online earlier, but he has not sent me any sort of message saying, "Hey, I'm home. I'm drunk. Let's do this." All right, we are ready to get. Oh, it's my favorite referee.
Really?
I love this guy. When he says fight and then backs up, he fucking moonwalks. He's the best. I once saw him on a Showbox card with, I think, a Nigerian fighter, and he was, he was all fancy and fabulous, and I was like, this is the best referee I've ever seen.
All right, fair enough. I will bow to your previous exposure to this particular ref. Look at
him. Well, he's not quite as fabulous. I think he's getting older. We are underway. This is round one.
This guy reffed the first Alvarez Golovkin fight.
Triple G just fought recently on DAZN
and killed some poor dude.
All right, we see Tyson.
That's what
Fury.
Golovkin does.
We see Tyson Fury open up with a series of left jabs. He's not doing the in-out herky-jerky motion that he was doing with Deontay Wilder. He seems to be a bit more composed, a bit more still. He's circling to his left. So far, Tom Schwartz doesn't really have a lot for him. He's just able to, Tyson Fury's just jabbing at will.
Well, Schwartz is not, A, the power threat that Wilder is, and B, a lot of that motion against Wilder was designed to draw out some of his wild looping punches and to do so from relative defensive safety. And against Wilder, who is, I'll say this charitably, an undisciplined fighter most of the time, that works quite well. Against a more technically proficient boxer, and Schwartz is much more of a technician than Wilder. I mean,
hey, who are you to doubt the Intercontinental Champion?
I just said he was more of a technician than Deontay Wilder.
Okay.
So those same kind of traps and tricks are not necessarily going to elicit the same reaction. So I expect a lot of very traditional kind of Tyson Fury stuff, a lot of awkward motion, a lot of very sound defense, a lot of smoother footwork. Fury has deceptively fast hands, so some decent combinations. And if he finds an opening to get a finish, he'll take it. But at this point in time, especially in just Fury's kind of general career, I kind of expect things to go the distance more often than not.
So Tyson Fury just kind of circled into the ropes, and Schwartz tried to press him there, but it was just a moment in time. It didn't last very long. Tyson Fury continues to circle and box from the outside. We're starting to see an exchange between him and Schwartz. Schwartz is now using his left to get in on Tyson. Tyson keeps backing up into the ropes and then goes back to circling again.
Well, Tyson's good. Again, the Wilder fight being a decent enough point of reference for a lot of people, the ropes are not an enemy to Tyson Fury most of the time. He's very defensively sound there. He's good about leaning. He's good about angling away from it once he thinks the situation is no longer to his advantage.
Tom Schwartz passed up an opportunity to try to box Tyson into the corner. Tyson just circled out of it with ease.
Yeah, again, Fury's footwork is a relatively overlooked aspect of his game. I don't want to say it's underappreciated.
How much cocaine is that woman on?
All? I'm going with all the cocaine.
Dude, look at her eyes. Right now, she's just showing... I don't have the sound on, but we're doing a thing with the size of benches. By the way, round one, I would say that goes to Tyson Fury.
Pretty clearly.
By a pretty large margin. Look at her eyes. Look at her eyes.
Schwartz had a couple of decent body shots towards the end of the round, but that round was almost entirely dictated by the jab and long-distance offense of Tyson Fury.
You can see the world in her eyes.
She can see forever.
Yes, she can.
Time is a flat circle.
She is... From her vantage point, she is staring into the middle distance. Round two.
Sometimes it felt... So I can't believe you just no-sold my True Detective reference, but okay.
All right, so we are here into round two. All right, now we're starting to see some of the kind of bizarre shoulder motions from Tyson Fury. He's sticking his jab out there. Yep. He's sort of patting at Schwartz now. He's not really throwing an actual punch.
No, he's gone southpaw as well. And again, Fury does fight well out of both stances, which is a bit of a rarity in boxing. There's not a lot of guys who do the switch hitting that he does.
He's clearly not seeing much of a threat from Schwartz because he's dropping his hands, which is usually the invitation to come forward.
Well, he's also at this point, after a round against... And I don't mean this in an unkind fashion, but Schwartz is a relatively traditional / unpredictable predictable fighter.
That was a clean left. It was a clean left hook from Tyson Fury to Schwartz. Schwartz walked through it. I don't think he's doesn't appear to be hurt here, but he definitely took one square in the side of the face.
Well, again, Fury's not the biggest puncher. He's much more interested in, again, proper scoring, proper technique, and just constantly hitting you. And eventually he's either going to get you via accumulation, or he is going to sneak something through that you don't see coming. Yeah, I mean, just look at his defense after he landed that hook, if you catch it on a replay. Schwarz fired back like 4 or 5 punches and missed all of them.
So Tyson Fury is doing some very entertaining stuff here. Oh, he is doing some damage to Schwartz. Schwartz is bleeding from the nose.
Yeah, that's straight left. Again, I don't know what he saw that made him decide southpaw was a better option in round 2, but he is threading that straight left between the guard of Schwarz with surprising regularity, and that's going to start paying dividends.
There's a fair amount of taunting going on from Tyson. All right, Schwartz has Tyson Fury up against the ropes. He throws a series of combinations, doesn't really land anything.
Get used to that. That's going to happen a lot. It's one of the reasons I mentioned that getting
down goes Schwartz to one knee. He, as you said before, he threaded the needle there. He forced a right directly through the gloves, punched him right in the nose, and Schwartz went down.
And again, Fury is much less about big one punch. The big one punches like Deontay Wilder is very obviously. Even Anthony Joshua is a really solid one punch hitter as far as that goes.
All right, we're done.
Schwarz called, yeah, and again, you don't when you see Tyson Fury get these stoppages like this, it's very clearly not a knockout, a concussive knockout, but look at Schwarz's face, and I mean, you and I both watch a lot of MMA where they let guys compete with brand new openings that can take on that can serve as oxygen receptacles in their face, or swelling that makes you wonder what's going on. But he backed Schwarz into the corner. He was unloading Schwarz's face. He's pretty damaged up. It's a good call from the ref. Schwarz was not really wanting any more of that. But this is, again, if this guy were fighting Wilder, we would have seen something similar to the Brazil fight, where he just kind of walked into a big power punch. This wound up being a show which was designed to kind of showcase what Deontay Wilder does. This was designed to showcase what Tyson Fury does, and you got to get a pretty decent look at what and again, his stylings, the way he moves, the switch of stances, the ability to choose appropriate punches, the accuracy of his strikes, and that's how he tends to fight. He's not a big puncher. He's not a fundamentalist, but he is a very solid technician in a lot of respects. And again, no one's figured out how to beat him yet.
So I said after the Anthony Joshua fight that the next fight that needs to happen is Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz Jr. They need to do it in whatever they're calling Cowboy Stadium these days. I think that fight sells the place out. I think either do it on DAZN or do it on pay-per-view. I think people, I think with enough promotion, enough marketing behind it, you've got, an opportunity to unify all the significant heavyweight belts, and then the winner of that fight takes on Tyson Fury, as was stated earlier, in early 2020. That's what needs to happen.
We're more likely to get a rematch between Ruiz Jr. and Joshua. At this point is kind of the rumblings I've heard, while they just also do the rematch between Fury and Wilder. And then the two winners of that will fight it out for the top of the heavyweight division, I suppose.
All right, well, this was a short night here. We're not going to do any extra coverage. We're just going to do some plugs, and I'm going to go hit the CPAP machine. So next week on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network, we've got Gotham Central.
No, hang on. We have to hear what song Tyson Fury decides to sing.
You do that. I'll do plugs.
Come on, his singing is usually the best part of these things.
All
right. Fine. Remove fun from existence.
No,
that's normally my thing. That's normally my thing, but okay, I'll let you infringe on my gimmick for tonight.
Listen, you dirty Jew. Stop trying to guilt me, number one. Number two.
Ow, you wound me again, sir. My hygiene is very well established.
Unsanitary.
Now look at that defense, man. Just that flurry from Schwarz, again, after he got hit with that left hook along the fence, and just nothing lands. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he took the measure of this guy pretty early on and just decided, all right, I'm going to end this, and he did. And Schwartz just covered up and prayed for it to be over. And here it comes. Yep, there it is. My favorite ref says, no mas. So I don't have my remote in my hand. It's on the other side of the room, so that's the other reason why I didn't raise the volume.
All right.
This Monday on Source Material is Gotham Central, Book 1. It was a really fun book. We referred to it as the Wire, as Gotham City, The Wire.
That is an inaccurate representation.
On Tuesday,
it's as close as you're going to get in comic format to, well, as close as you get in mainstream comic format to The Wire being represented like that. But unless Alan Moore's writing it, you're not going to get a fair representation of, the horrors of drug abuse, of drug addiction.
On Tuesday, we're going to review Men in Black International, which I saw today with my daughter.
That thing has bombed pretty hard.
Yeah, I think this is the end of the Men in Black franchise for a while.
You would have thought that, well, let's be fair. Hang on. 3 came out, 8 years ago?
Well, here's the
10
thing.
years ago?
Chris Hemsworth, people like him as Thor. People like Tessa Thompson. They figured, this brand doesn't necessarily have a lot of dirt on it. It's just, it just had kind of soured on the vine during the original 3-picture run, and they figured, okay, we'll get some fresh actors in there. We'll update some of the special effects. I don't want to give away too much of the review, but here was the problem with Men in Black, and I noticed this after watching the first one today with my daughter. There were a lot of the same beats, and I just don't think people care. I mean, the theory is we'll freshen this up with some hot actors that people like, but I don't think they were betting on people still liking the franchise. But I think a lot of people like the franchise mostly because of Will Smith. So, with that being said, we got the new Rammstein on Wednesday on the Metal Hammer of Doom, and then we're all going to get together on Thursday to talk Toxic Fandoms on the Screaming Boy podcast. Myself and Sean Comer were not able to get it.
Are you going to... Oh, wait. Okay, I just have to ask a...
Yeah.
I have to ask a question about the Toxic Fandom. Are you guys going to, at the end of it, rank which fandoms are the worst?
We'll see. You're going to be on the show, aren't you?
I did not believe I was going to be on the show.
I thought you were.
No, I thought that when that was first established, I was like, it was not me. Like what day is it? No, just
Thursday the 20th.
I mean, if you thought I was going to be there, and you're I suppose I can whip up something and be there and take up space. Like, I'm not opposed to the idea. I was not anticipating being part of it, but I'm not opposed to it. So
I thought you were included in the initial conversation. I actually don't remember anymore.
I was present while the conversation took place. I don't know.
I'm sure our listeners think this is very interesting.
Listeners.
So we were supposed to do an on trial for X-Men 3: The Last Stand, but Sean had some issues, so we weren't able to record, and then we were going to try to record Friday night, but instead I went to go see Rocket Man, and then I went to go have nibbles and alcohol with my wife, and then I came home and went to bed, so that didn't happen. Tonight was the Tyson Fury fight, and tomorrow's Father's Day, so maybe tomorrow, but I don't think so. And then after that, I'm just not going to try anymore. I'm just moving on to other stuff. On the 24th of June, we've got Heroes in Crisis. We'll be reviewing Toy Story 4 on Damn You Hollywood, the new Amon Amarth Berserker on the 26th, and then myself and Jesse Starcher will review Black Mirror Season 5. And in theory, on July 1st, we'll be doing Jessica Jones Volume 2, the Secrets of Maria Hill. And Jessica Jones Season 3 on Netflix dropped on the 14th, this past Friday. We'll get around to it on July...
and also seems to have bombed a little bit.
We will, in theory, review it on July 2nd, unless, of course, I can't. So at this point, I'm not really sure. Also under the same kind of auspices of maybe I will, maybe I won't, is the new Upon a Burning Body Southern Hostility, theoretically on July 3rd. It's really as far as I can go because I haven't the foggiest fucking clue how my life's going to go in the next few weeks. Check out our review of the Dark Phoenix saga, the Dark Phoenix movie, and Robert actually came on we had the two Roberts on the Metal Hammer of Doom, as we discuss Nettle Band. Oakley dokley, howdly doodly. You can go ahead and plug your shows now.
Oh, was that meant to segue me into... Okay. Yeah, I was on the Metal Hammer of Doom, providing Simpsons knowledge, which is what I normally do when I'm on for the heavy Nettle bands, and I discovered that I have a deep and abiding affection for the good-natured trollery of the lead singer for that band. As Jesse Starcher gave us some highlights from his Reddit AMA doing parts of the review. This last Sunday, I was flying solo, and I reviewed UFC 238, which was about as good a main pay-per-view card as the UFC has put on in ever. Many years, if nothing else. The only dud on the main card was predictably a heavyweight fight, which even Mark could not defend, which should tell you how bad it is. But the event on the whole was really solid. There were only like 2 or 3 kind of stinkers. Everything else was at least watchable, and there were 2 really good fights, and Valentina Shevchenko killed some bitch from Ohio, so good for her. I only refer to Jessica I as that on this show. But yeah, oh god, that was a pretty nasty knockout.
You have to behave yourself on 411 now.
I mean, I don't have to, but I choose to.
Yeah, you do. You have to. You got to behave yourself.
Again, I'm under no compulsion to do so. What are they going to do? Fire me? Dock my pay? Sorry. Jokes about being an independent blogger aside, which is, I believe, technically how I am categorized for their purposes. And I don't mean for that to come off as snide or being disinterested in what I do or anything. I'm eternally grateful to them for giving me a platform to write and to podcast from, much as I am to Mark for giving me a platform to say stupid things on the air on a regular basis and ensure that I will never, ever achieve public office in any sort of meaningful capacity.
That's right. On here, you get to be free, as opposed to 411 where you have to behave yourself.
Again, don't have to. Choose to.
Okay. You keep saying that.
Seriously. I could go on a profanity-laden tirade. I don't think anyone would care.
Okay.
Have you not heard some of the other shows?
No, I've only heard Larry's shows. Boy, are Larry, Cook. I mean, Cook, but when Larry and Jeremy get together, boy, are they in the box.
There's value to being in the box. There's value to being outside the box as well.
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
There is a definite difference between the Rat Legend Broadcasting Network and the 411 Podcasting Network.
Very true.
One of us is very much in the box. The other one lets the fur fly.
So you all can subscribe to both of them and get contrast, balance in your life, as all things should be.
That's right.
So anyway, I reviewed that, which was, again, a great event. Good main event. Good co-main event, great fight between Cerrone and Ferguson that had an unfortunate ending, but hey, you don't blow your nose when you have a damaged eye and a busted nose. There's a reason for that. And Cerrone gave us all a real-time demonstration, as he, once again, had a brain fart in a big pressure situation.
Not the first time, won't be the last.
Might be the last.
Really?
By which I mean he might never be in a big pressure situation again.
Okay.
I mean, again, the winner of that fight should be fighting by all rights for the title next, but the UFC's probably going to screw Ferguson over because they don't like him. I don't know. I mean, only in the UFC and only at can you win 12 fights in a row at lightweight with 9 of them being stoppages and not be guaranteed to be fighting for the belt next. Such is life. Yeah. I feel so bad for Tony Ferguson because some of that's the UFC screwing him over, and in the past, some of it's been on him. Like he's had injuries that have derailed his momentum at times. Anyway, this Sunday will be a preview of UFC on ESPN Plus 12. Not a bad card, but I'm not exactly, excited.
Wazooey.
Wazooey? Wow. You jumped into the Wayback Machine for that one. Okay. To use the parlance of Mark Radulich, I am not Wazooey. I like the main event, and I like the co-main event, so we're just going to see how everything else plays out. I will have coverage of that on Saturday in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. If you would like to see I got kind of looped into helping out Larry Zonka on Friday by covering Impact Wrestling while he was out with his family, because Larry has a loving family, and it was as part of the Father's Day celebration, and I am a spouseless, childless recluse. So my Friday nights are free to just watch mediocre professional wrestling. Anyway, so you can find that. Again, I do Impact. At this point, I think anytime Larry decides he doesn't want to cover Impact, he's going to call me, because I took it for the month and a half or so he was off. And then, this Tuesday will be a review of Men in Black International, and Mark and I will explain why it's a bad movie, apparently. Mark's assessment of it was cute, I seem to recall.
Yeah, look, for the average movie-going folk, it was a cute movie.
Movie that no one saw.
And my daughter certainly enjoyed it. She didn't really have any complaints about it.
Okay, for the record, how many scenes are there of Chris Hemsworth shirtless?
Oof. I don't want to give anything away, but there is definitely a scene where they do the slow motion sexy walk, and they do it over and over and over again.
Boy, that just sounds like a great way to pad out the runtime of your movie. All right, so we'll be reviewing that.
Here's what I'll say: when you see it and you go, "My God, this reminds me of Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is a nothing movie." This time, I will not fight you.
You shouldn't have fought me on Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was an accurate assessment.
Not having that argument with you again. Go back and listen to the damn podcast.
Your argument on the podcast amounted to, my daughter loves the Wasp. Let her be a feminist.
That's not true.
It was a significant part of your argument.
That's true, but it wasn't the only argument. I believe I believe I dug into the themes and the performances and whatnot. It was a little bit more than that.
You tried to explain that Evangeline Lilly is not the worst actress in the world, and I kind of explained that, yeah, she really is.
We were watching The Desolation of Smog for a little bit at my in-laws today. I like to go there sometimes.
The Desolations... Wait. Okay, stop. You referenced 3 different things that could have been the subject of I'd like to go there sometimes. And I'm not sure which one you were referring to.
The line from her line delivery from The Desolation of Smog.
It's not good.
I like to go there sometimes. All right, Evangeline.
Yeah, and what's your face from Pride and Prejudice and Zombies? Wouldn't trade her wushu training for anything. Terrible line reading.
Let's finish this up.
All right. Yeah, Tyson Fury has serenaded his wife in the audience. Good for him. Tuesday, Mark and I will explain why Men in Black International sucks. I will explain that. We'll figure out. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't tell you why it sucks. I'm basing this on everything that I've heard about it up till now. It's entirely possible. Well, it's unlikely, but it is within the realm of possibility that I love this movie. And because I have gone contrary to popular perspectives times in the past, and I'm not afraid to do so if that's what I believe to be accurate. So, again, I still think Thor Ragnarok is terrible, and I'm prepared to die on that hill. So I might see this and have a different perspective than everyone else. I don't anticipate that, but I'm not going to preclude the possibility. So tune in Tuesday. It's just Mark and I on Damn You Hollywood. Alexis Hana was not available for this recording, so Mark and I can finally stop sucking in our guts on the podcast. Bad joke aside. Again, the week after that is Toy Story 4, which apparently has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Ugh.
Look, Mark, you and I are not afraid to tell it like it is. If we see it and we think it sucks, we'll say that. By contrast, if we see it and we go, you know what? All of our preconceptions about this were wrong. You and I will both happily eat crow.
Yep.
I've got a good recipe. I have developed it out of necessity. So tune in for that over the next couple of weeks on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you enjoy these shows. We've had a few random spikes in our listeners in downloads as far as our listenership goes, but we've also been kind of steadily growing over the last couple of months. Not huge numbers. We are not a major network, but our average has gone up, I think, 5 to 6 per day. Sorry, our average has increased from 2 months ago by about, again, 5 to 6 on average per day. So thank you.
Yeah, we hope you're enjoying it, or we hope you're hate listening. I'll take either.
If you're just using us as background noise, hey, thank you. If the sound of Mark and I arguing is what soothes your 3-year-old into slumber, happy to help.
And before we go, we just want to remind you that if you use a podcast app to listen to the Radulich and Broadcasting Network or any of the famous and wonderful podcasts that are out there, go download Podcoin. Podcoin is an app that pays you to listen to podcasts. After you've accumulated X amount of hours of listening, you can turn those points in for gift cards to Amazon, Starbucks. You can even buy yourself an Amazon, one of them Amazon Echo clocks. There's all kinds of things you can do. You just got to listen to podcasts. That's it. You only even have to listen to 10 minutes. You listen to 10 minutes of a podcast, you mark it as played, you move on to something else if you want to. Podcoin is the way, folks. We're on there. Your favorite podcasts are on there for the most part. Why waste time listening to podcasts when you can get paid to listen to podcasts? Podcoin.
Okay, seriously, am I supposed to be getting copies of the copy you're reading?
That was all off the cuff.
Really? They're not paying you? I could have sworn they were paying us for this.
No, Podcoin doesn't even know I'm doing this.
We're not sponsored yet? Are you sure?
Nope. Listen. Other podcasts like to sell dick pills. Other podcasts tell you that if you want to sue, call Stephen P. New. I'm all about a service that I use and that I want other people to use too, and that's Podcoin. www.podcoin.com.
Are you sure we're not That sounds like some professional ad copy you're reading. Oh. And hang on. Also, in fairness to purveyors of dick pills and law firms, we're not opposed to reading your copy. Contact Mark to sponsor us.
I don't really want to sell dick pills, though. If Stephen P. New would like me to contribute to reading his copy as Jim Cornette does, that's fine. And there are certainly other things that, if they want to send me... Listen, any one of the subscription meal plans want to send me some free meals, I will gladly read your copy. The Blue Chew folks, just keep sending that to Conrad. It's fine. They can be purveyors of dick pills.
I don't know whether to be disgusted by you or applaud your moral center on this one.
I'm just not interested.
You're not interested in money.
I'm not interested.
Fair enough.
I'm not interested in selling dick pills.
I'm just saying, they'd be paying. That's all I'm saying.
They would be. Look, how about Blue Apron? Look, I'm willing to shill for Blue Apron if they send me free food, because I'm a fat guy and I need to.
How about you just look in lieu of free food, actually send a check to Mark?
Well, that would be better. How about send me the free food so that I can I can taste the product, and then I can swear by the product, and then send me a check.
All right, you've just now overly complicated the whole advertising industry by bringing ethics into it.
All right, everybody. This has been.
Did you not see Mad Men, sir?
This has been an overly convoluted end to our podcast. For the love of God, be well, be safe, and behave.